We're gonna go with a different candidate. I don't like that shirt of yours. I think that opinion is weird. That's not really cool. I don't like your hair. I don't like those shoes. Oh, you like that food? That's nasty. Sorry, you won't be accepted to this university. I think we should end things. Yeah, I checked out that thing you made. It wasn't that good. I'm sure most of us have heard some of those sentences in our lives, and you've come to the right video if rejection is something you struggle dealing with. Rejection. We all experience it, and it's an extremely important part of life. And in this video, you're going to have so many solutions and reframes and ways to approach rejection in a more concrete fashion than the basic way that most of us approach rejection. We take rejection so seriously, and in this video, I'm going to explain why it stings more than you feel like it should. But honestly, we all experience rejection. It's a natural part of life because not all things in the universe, on earth, etc., are compatible with each other. If we think about it very basically, one person's preference of something will differ from someone else's preference of something. And where do preferences come about? Well, it comes from the individual, it comes from their background, it comes from their influence, it comes from their programming, it comes from all these types of things. So when we get rejected because someone prefers something else, we take it so personally, not seeing it from a different lens, the truer lens, the more meta lens of the fact that it's just a preference. Even if we put our best foot forward, we cannot fit the preference of everybody. So we're going to explore that more in this video. This is such an important video, and understanding and solving the fears around rejection is so important, because if you don't solve it now, you're just going to keep reliving it in your life. Because if you constantly relive it, you stop taking risks. You keep reliving in the past. You keep beating yourself up. You keep trying to be perfect. These are all things that lead to neurosis, right? Neurotic behaviors, because you're unable to deal with rejection. And I'll talk more about the issues around fears of rejection, how it affects your behavior, how it affects your psychology, how it affects your spirituality, all of these things. And this is how people get stuck in the same place in life. They get rejected, they feel it emotionally, they identify with that, and then they don't want to experience that ever again, not understanding that for a successful life, it's a feature of a successful life. It's supposed to be there. It's supposed to challenge you. You're supposed to get friction in life when you're trying to make things happen, when you're trying to enter a career field, you're trying to get a certain partner, you're trying to get in better shape, you're trying to get better in your meditation, you're trying to start a business. You're gonna have friction with all of this. So when we feel rejection, instead of curling up in a ball, we have to stand up even stronger. We have to take in that pain we're experiencing and continue on. Have the courage to continue on. People ask me, oh, how are you so wise at 26? I'm like, man, I've been rejected so many times in life that I know so much. I've worked on things and I failed at them, but I kept going. And now I'm like fearless in so many things because I just keep going. I'm relentless. I don't see rejection as a bad thing. I see it as a chance to improve something. I take it a lot less personally than I did when I was super young. So let's get into a quote around fear of rejection. Quote, fear of rejection is a common and understandable fear and can be a normal part of being human. Our ancestors relied on being accepted in the group for survival. So ancient parts of the human brain, including the amygdala, can register a rejection as life-threatening. So that's the big thing right there. We see rejection in our modern society as a very bad thing, right? And in one sense, it can hold us back in life. But there's an evolutionary reason why that fear is there. When you are in a tribe of people that take care of you, that bring you your needs in terms of love and affection and food and shelter, a sense of belonging, reproduction, all this stuff, when you have this tribe, being rejected by a tribe that meets your needs so much is very dangerous. It can lead to death, right? So it's such an ingrained thing to have a sense of belonging and to be accepted by others because there's a degree of safety there. Continuing on, quote, attention from others is a basic and essential human need. Attention in the form of recognition, understanding, and acceptance are essential for us to thrive both psychologically and physically. Yes, being around others and having a degree of acceptance is a human need, absolutely. If we reference Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's definitely there. We just don't want this need to be accepted to completely run our lives. If it constantly runs our life, it leads to a lot of chaos. So there's a need to be accepted, but we also have to create a need to be self-reliant on our own validation. So it's a balance. Let's look closer into Maslow's hierarchy of needs around rejection. You have love and belonging, which is one of the needs in the pyramid. So this is friendship, intimacy, family, and a sense of connection. Now, rejection with these things can hurt, obviously, because it's such a need. But you have to remember, rejection doesn't just happen at this stage with the love and belonging. I'm sure you've experienced rejection that has been so painful because it has hit other areas of the pyramid. So, for example, you can experience rejection from a job, which means you don't get that job, you don't make the salary from that job, which can affect your livelihood if you're not able to get another job. So your physiological needs could be at risk from the base of the pyramid. And what we know about our physiological needs, it's extremely important. Food, shelter, it's the base stage of the pyramid for a reason. Financial instability affects food and safety and even reproduction, right? We also have to factor in the different traumas people have experienced, right? So one person's rejection in one area of the pyramid could be different from the level of deep rejection someone else faces in that same level. So for example, someone that has had a very loving family, they get rejected on a date, they may not feel it as deeply compared to someone that never really had that intimacy growing up. They get the rejection from a date and they take it extremely hard. It could be vice versa and opposites, right? It depends on the person as well. So feelings of rejection are of course relative to the person. So this all makes sense as to why rejection can sting. There's different areas of the human condition that non-acceptance can affect, but this doesn't mean that we don't have control over how we respond emotionally and logically. Here's a quote: "Often this desire for acceptance is matched by a fear of not receiving understanding and acceptance, thus justifying the creation of a strategy of hiding our true selves and creating a driving force that keeps us from being authentic." That's powerful. Our need to be accepted so much causes us to be inauthentic, to approach the world inauthentically because we want to meet that need of being accepted. But this can be unhealthy because you don't live true to yourself, you don't even express your desires anymore, and it becomes a counterintuitive thing where someone accepts you. Let's say you're accepted into a friend group. You don't communicate your authentic core, your beliefs, all of these things. Thus, you don't even feel accepted within that group. Evidently, it's your fake persona, it's your fake self that's being accepted. So this person that does this has to integrate that side of them that shares their authentic viewpoints, their authentic selves. And then if they're accepted, this is how true belonging gets established. Not by fakely wanting to be accepted and not being your true self because you don't want to feel rejected. Hiding our true self helps you not face these threatening situations. Not sufficiently getting the experience of being understood, validated, accepted, considered, and appreciated as we are can lead to feelings of shame and unworthiness that then creates a sensitivity to having the feeling of being rejected. Desire for acceptance and the fear of rejection informs many of the actions in our lives and the way we live and interact. That's why so many live a fraction of a life. They're constantly seeking validation and approval and trying to run away from rejection as much as possible. But it goes two ways. Either you accept rejection from others and you pursue the things that help your life and help you live your authentic core, or you save face and not get rejected by others, but deep down it eats at you. Deep down you know that you're not living authentically. Deep down you know that you're fake. And I'm not saying you're fake in a malicious sense. I'm saying you're fake as in you are not aligned with your actual true beliefs. And things like this cause social anxiety. And I've always said social anxiety is a projection. You know how you are, and you've lived a life of being inauthentic so much that you have fears of expressing this authentic version of you, A. And then B, you project and think that people know that authentic version of you and are judging it, but really they're not because they don't know it because you haven't expressed it. Here's a quote on social anxiety. Social anxiety can be related to a fear of rejection due to the fear of doing or saying something embarrassing, not being liked, or not being able to connect with others. Our mental health concerns can cause fear of rejection as well. OCD, for example, can cause rumination and obsessive thinking about whether someone is liked or accepted by their romantic interests, peers, or coworkers. So let's look at fear of rejection from a mental standpoint and an emotional standpoint. It's a form of neurosis, neuroticism. And I'm just going to list off different things that come about when you have a deep fear of rejection. Unable to set boundaries, not expressing opinions enough. Remember, people can't read your mind. codependence, fear of abandonment, not speaking your truth, not saying no enough, perfectionism, unassertiveness, clinginess, passive-aggressive behaviors, inauthenticity. I know a lot of nice guys deal with that. Emotional distance, so like avoiding people. And we also have to look at the areas in which fear of rejection affects, because at the end of the day, it's really an opportunity cost. The longer you deal with this, the more things you miss out on because you're so crippled by it. And if we understand that life can feel very long, but at the same time, it's short, in my opinion. So let's look at the areas. Intimate and interpersonal relationships, marital relationships, level of education, your type of career choice, level of achievement and ambition, choice of leisure activities, behaviors at work, family relationships, role in community, options in life. There's so many things. So let's get into the solutions. It's going to be a long list, pretty detailed. Listen very closely, take notes. Let's get into it. First, understand that rejection can help you, and you should expect it as a requirement for success. It's a feature of life that you have to wear and be welcoming of, no matter how tough it is to take in. This is emotional maturity, and this takes also a degree of stoicism. When you can understand that things will happen and you will have to be emotionally strong to withstand them, you have more options in life because you're not limited by your emotions. Your emotions come about, you understand that they are not you, and then from that perspective, you can take action towards a different alternative where you'll see success, and or you can learn from the rejection itself without maybe even having ad hominem attacks towards the other person. Oh, how come they couldn't accept me? Or how come this person doesn't like me? You don't do any of that because you have a better perspective. Next, there are many interpretations about rejection. Like I said earlier in this video, there are many reasons why you've been rejected, either by somebody, a company, a friend, something. A lot of times it has nothing to do with us. A lot of times it could have something to do with their past. It could have something to do with their traumas. There's so many things at play that if we don't come out of our egos and we don't pan out, and let's say we go all the way out into space and we're looking at the situation from a more objective standpoint, close to objectivity as possible, we would see that there's more at play than what we think. And a lot of times we lack a lot of context as to why you got rejected. So for example, someone that applied to a job they really wanted and they ended up getting rejected, they think that they weren't good enough, they think that they weren't smart enough, they think that their resume wasn't good, etc., etc. So they wallow in pity. They stop applying to other jobs, they wallow in pity. Turns out, it's not that the company didn't want them. In fact, they were in the top 3 final candidates, but the company decided to not hire that position because of budget cuts that had nothing to do with the candidates. But the candidate that's wallowing in pity doesn't know this. They don't have the context. So even if you're not told about a contextual piece of information in the situation you got rejected, you still have to be smart and privy enough to understand that there are other things outside of the things you directly know about the situation. There's more than meets the eye. And adding to that, there are things beyond your control. Next, rejection is highly relative. Take 2 pictures of people, go to random people in the street, and ask them to rate those 2 people out of 10. In terms of looks, attractiveness, you're gonna get a wide range of answers. Some people are gonna say they're a 10 out of 10. Others are gonna say they're a 2. Others are gonna say they're a 7. She's a 6, he's a 4. He's a 1, she's a 2, she's a 3, he's a 8, she's a 10. It's a wide range because we have different preferences. Look at the TV shows you watch. Maybe some of you watch like Dancing with the Stars, or I don't know, something where there's judges and they judge something. One judge gives a performance a 2, another judge gives it like a 6, right? And another performance, one judge gives it a 7, another gives it a 10. It's a bias. We have interpretations. So even if you get a rejection, it's a perspective. It's one perspective. Now, this isn't to say that if you're getting multiple data points of a perspective that's consistent, you don't look at that, because you should, because that's very good feedback. It's reoccurring. At that point, you don't let your emotions get in the way. You take that seriously, but you still have to view it as a perspective. If it's a stranger saying something or this person, it's a perspective. My YouTube comments, I love you guys, by the way. I think I have the smartest subscribers on the planet, the best subscribers on the planet on top of that. But even me, every now and again, I get like people in my comment section saying whatever. It's a perspective. Even if they disagree with me, even if they say things that I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with the video? It's just a perspective. It's their biased perspective. Even if it's a positive comment, it's a negative comment, it's a perspective. Next, some people feel empowered by rejecting things. That's a thing to keep in mind. There are people that feel empowered. They feel good by rejecting things. Think about that Instagram girl. She's good looking. She feels power by rejecting men. Another example is a coach. He runs a very elite soccer team, for example. He can pick whoever. His ego gets gratified by rejecting great players. Because maybe in the past, when he was younger, so many players were better than him. And now he's a coach. He found his talent of being a coach. He's really good at coaching rather than being a player. And now a part of him, his ego gets boosted by rejecting others. His ego gets boosted by rejecting good players. Next, check your ego. Our egos get in the way. The reason why we feel hurt and pain is because we identify with an ideal self. Now, this isn't to say that you don't have a certain self-image of yourself. I make videos on self-image. I do. But I always tell people that your ego can only take you so far. You have to almost loosen the grips on the self-image and understand that if you take it too seriously, you're going to live in suffering. This is a huge thing that's spoken about in Buddhism, is the limits of the ego. Next, feeling rejected is a feeling. Feelings are signs, so question your feelings. So when we feel something, we have to investigate it. We have to question it. We have to inquire about it. We have to reflect on it. Where is this coming from? What is this saying about me? What is the situation bringing out of me? And now this rejection is an opportunity to grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This type of questioning is an example of emotional intelligence. We have to question it. Even before you get rejected, when you have the fear of rejection, I'm mostly talking about after you get rejected, but before you even get rejected, question that fear. Look at the worst case scenario. Look at other angles. Go above that emotion of fear. And you have to take baby steps with this, and then through time, you get better and better and better at it. Next, don't let others impose their reaction to rejection onto you. So a lot of times when we get rejected by something, or we have a fear of rejection, we go to our friends and we subconsciously pick up their reaction to the rejection or how they would approach the situation. So for example, let's say you get rejected by a girl or something, and you tell your friend about it, and your friend's like, oh man, that sucks. Oh, she rejected you? Man, I feel so bad for you. Oh, like to him, if he was in that situation, he would feel so bad because he hasn't really worked on himself. He'd feel so bad in that situation. So he assumes you would feel that way too. So he shares that. And then you, not knowing it, you take that in and you're like, whoa, actually, yeah, this is really bad. Wow. He's imposing his reaction onto you, right? This is called imposition. When people impose their reactions onto you, you need to be careful and question that and say, the way I'm reacting to this situation, is this actually how I would react to this situation, to this rejection? Or is this how my mom would react to this situation? Or is this how my friend, my cousin, my brother, my sister would react to this situation? There's a topic called introjection. This is an ego defense mechanism where you go through life living life as if your family member or your parent or whatever is with you and they're reacting to life with you. They live in your mind, basically. You gotta be careful with this. And this is where imposed feelings can come about from a rejection. So you want to make sure this doesn't play a part. Same with even before you get rejected. The fear, right? The fear of going towards maybe starting that business, the fear of going towards something new. You could have past programming of other people's reactions to a similar fear, or a past reference experience of like your brother being fearful of a similar situation. So you have to watch how the past and also the reactions of others cloud your reaction. Powerful, this is deep stuff. Next, someone will always disapprove of you. Like I said, we have different tastes, different preferences, etc. Even if you're a goody two-shoes and you society to a T, there will always be someone that doesn't approve, that rejects you. So that goes to tell you it doesn't matter, right? It just goes to show you do whatever you want to do. Be your authentic self. Take risks, because either or you're always gonna have someone that doesn't approve. Next, get rejected more, right? This could sound counterintuitive, but I call this exposure therapy. The more you're exposed to a stimulus, the more used to it you get. And also on top of that, the more you experience rejection in something, the more likely you are to succeed. Why? Because you learn more lessons, and next you learn more ways of doing better. So for example, you never really get hair compliments. Let's say you got a new haircut and someone compliments your hair. And in one given day, you get like 5 compliments on your hair, which is rare. You're like, whoa, this new haircut is like, it's like impressing people. Now you feel really nice. You're like, oh, this is nice. This is cool. Like that's your emotional reaction. Like, wow, I feel good. People are complimenting my hair. Now, as the week goes by, you're getting more and more compliments on your hair. Again. By the time you get to your 50th hair compliment, you're like, oh, okay, thanks. You don't even bat an eye. Like you're like, okay, thanks, because it's expected. You've been exposed to the compliments so much. It's the same thing with rejection. If you get rejected more and more in life, and you don't let it beat you down, you let it grow you, you become so used to it and it becomes a tool in your life. It helps you do better. But if you let it beat you down, but if you don't get exposed enough to rejection, only once in a while, it becomes more heavy, it becomes more strong, it becomes more scary, because you don't have you haven't been exposed to the rejection stimulus enough. Think of like a sales guy that's, selling, let's say he's selling computers, for example, and he's new on the job and he's scared of getting rejected. He has the fear of rejection, right? Of someone not wanting to buy, the computers he's selling. His first 7 rejections, they feel bad. His skill set isn't there, but he's learning. But the 12th customer buys, and then the 14th customer buys, and then the 17th customer buys, and then the 25th and 26th, and then the 30th, and then the 32nd, 33rd, 34th. And now he's seeing more success with him selling the computers. By the 40th customer, he's experienced rejection. He's learned so much that it doesn't bother him anymore. He's had more at-bats. Next, universal direction. This is powerful. So the universe operates in mysterious ways, right? When we want to manifest different things in our lives, we usually think of a linear way. Like we have a plan, like I'm going to do this, that, third, this is going to happen, and then I'm going to get to this thing I want to manifest. But you have to understand that the universe, you think it's going to go this way, but it actually goes around this way in a loop, and then this way, and it brings you here, and then you get to your goal. Let's say you get rejected with something. There's a chance that the universe wants to take you a different route. If someone goes on a date with someone, it doesn't work out, but they like that person, but it doesn't work out. They end up finding someone even better for them. You see this all the time. So the universe takes a unique route for the things you want to manifest. So don't beat yourself up so much for now manifesting something in a arbitrary timeline that you set for yourself. Here's a quote by Eckhart Tolle, and I like what he said. He says, quote, "Some changes look negative on the surface, but you will soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge." That's beautiful. Next, really quick, opportunity cost of being afraid of rejection, right? Missing out on opportunities in life, friends, self-improvement, missing out on career opportunities, relationships. So it gets very dangerous, right? There's a huge opportunity cost if you don't work on this. Next, your brain is outdated. Like I said, it very much is ingrained in the tribe way of thinking, of making sure that its needs are met by other people, and that viewing rejection as something scary. But we're in modern times. We're in different times. This old brain, don't let it trick you, okay? Program yourself and help yourself understand that rejection is an important part of the modern society you're in right now. And success, both inward success, because inward success means you're doing practices that grow you internally, and you're not gonna reach that version of that quickly. So that's like a form of rejection internally. And also outwardly, you're gonna experience rejection, right? So that's a big thing. Next, self-regulation. Regulate your emotions, watch your thoughts, watch your assumptions, watch the things that occur when you're faced with a situation of potentially getting rejected. After you get rejected, analyze how you feel, write it down. Now add perspective to it. I'm feeling this way because I view myself X, Y, and Z. I view myself as an amazing yoga practitioner. So when I go to a yoga class and the instructor tells me my pose sucks, I feel bad, I feel rejected, because my ego is identified with being a great yoga practitioner. Like that's my identity. Rather than yoga being something I just happen to be good at. I'm not perfect at, but I'm good at. It's 2 different things. Next, value being respected over being liked. This is for you people pleasers out there that feel like you can't share your authentic self, and so you put on this heavy mask around others. But you have to value being respected for who you are more than being liked, because that's way deeper. All your relationships need to be based off deep respect. Those are the strongest relationships, where respect is the deepest, one of the deepest things keeping the relationship together. Because if it's just like, oh, I like this person, it's way more shallow. So how do you value being respected more? Respect yourself more. Grow your confidence, grow your self-love. When you work on this, fearing rejection works itself out. Another thing you can do to feel respected is to go after your passions, right? And the thing is, when you go after your passions, you'll feel rejection. So it's kind of ironic, but I mean, pick your poison here, right? Next, avoid reliving in the past. Disidentified with that old version of you that's consistently crippled with fearing rejection. Meditation is so powerful because you're in the present moment, and it allows you to create a new ego without being so identified with the new ego or the old ego. When we disidentify with our past, we stop reliving the past. It stops creating our future. Joe Dispenza talks about this. He says, people live in the predictable past, and it creates a predictable future because they're reliving the same emotions and thoughts from the past, and they bring it to the future, and they get stuck in life and stuck in life and stuck in life. Speaking of meditation, meditate to help with rumination, right? Because when we fear rejection, we ruminate. We have all these thoughts going on. We have all these scenarios playing about. When we slow down the mind and we quiet it, that's where the magic happens. Next, create audio affirmations to program your subconscious mind to overcome fearing rejection. The subconscious mind drives how you act, and it has certain beliefs around rejection that's causing you to be so fearful of it. But when you create affirmations around it that create a new program, you now have a new behavior. For example, you can have affirmations like, I'm free from fearing rejection. I accept that rejection is a part of life. Experiencing rejection grows me as a person. When you embed these affirmations in the subconscious mind views rejection differently now. And when it views it differently, it acts differently around it. You can listen to it very silently before you go to bed, and also when you wake up. This is when your brainwaves are slower and you're more susceptible to information. So that's how you program the subconscious mind. Lastly, this is one of my favorite mottos, and this is how I ended my video on overthinking. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we are in a play, and things can go our way, things cannot go our way, but at the end of the day, when you're super old and you've lived your life, you start to understand the amount of things we fear are extremely petty in the grand scheme of things. Pan out your time horizon, pan out what this rejection will look like in the grand scheme of your life.